Hello, everyone, and welcome to this session on Word, Managing Bullets and Numbering. My name is Scott Kinsella. I'm a Microsoft Certified Trainer and a Microsoft Office Specialist Master. I know it's a whole huge mouthful. If this is one of your first times attending these online trainings or viewing one of my videos, let me just do a little quick background about myself. I'm a Microsoft Certified Trainer. I've been certified as one of those for, I think we're going on 11 years now, so that definitely qualifies as the over 10. And in that realm, I specialize in all of the end user applications in the Office space. So things like Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and especially nowadays, all things Office 365, Teams, SharePoint, and all that sort of good stuff. Overall, I've been working with these products for over 23 years. I started out with teaching these Office products back when it was still Office 4.3 and then Office 95, and have continued ever since then. So got a lot of background in working with this stuff. Currently, I work for a company called Planet Technologies, based up in Germantown, Maryland, just kind of up the road from where I currently live. And primarily, I work on government contracts. I work in different, I've done a couple of different ones. I won't go into details. I don't want to give anything away. So today's topic, well, today's class, this is a brain buster. This is, I think, if somebody asked me what are the top 5 things that over the years people come to me and say, I've got a problem with this in my Word document, I would probably even rank this in the top 3. And that is something went wrong with numbering, something went wrong with bullets, anything along those lines. Just cause, okay? The problem with this, and we'll talk about this, is just how brain busting this really is. And there is a lot of baggage with this topic. So what I want to do today is to try to explain the problem, try to explain how to solve it, and then go through some different methods for solving the problems of how do I make my bullets behave? How do I make numbered lists behave? How do I do numbered headings? Those kind of 1.1, 1.1.1 type deals in your document. I will be honest with you though, I'm going to show you these solutions. As with any solution, there's always the good and the bad. There are some really great things about the solutions that I'm going to show you in this class and on this video. There are some downsides, and it's a trade-off. But I think the trade-off is worth it in what you're going to see and be able to do with bullets and numbering later on. So unfortunately, I didn't have a lot of time to come with a fantastic PowerPoint like I did for other classes. So I've just got an introduction slide here. And what I'm actually going to bring up is the handout for this class. Again, for those of you attending live right now, I can't seem to upload the file for some reason, so look for it posted later on the Facebook group. For those of you watching this video, hopefully there's a link somewhere now in the description that shows you where you can pick this up. So first off, I want to give credit to for this handout and a lot of the materials here. I didn't write a lot of this, though I have modified it. A lot of the material that you're going to see here on my screen and the handout later comes from a person named Shauna Kelly. She was a Microsoft Word MVP, or what they call Most Valued Professional. And this was an article amongst several that she had posted on her website. Unfortunately, she passed away a number of years ago. I did not know her personally and so on and so forth, but I've used these materials of hers. So I want to make sure that's attributed to her. And I think the community, I think her site is still out there. So if you look up Shauna Kelly, SHAUNA, Kelly. I think shaunakelly.com is still out there. I have to check, but that's where these materials came from. So I don't want to take credit for this because she put in a lot of great work here. All I did is I took the online articles and made them into a Word document. So I just want to be clear with attributions there, so nobody accuses me of plagiarizing. So that being said, let's first talk about why bullets and numbering are such a problem. So one of the main problems with bullets and numbering in documents is the fact that people don't use them right. Now that seems like a kind of an easy, redundant statement, but here's the first major problem with bullets and numbering. Whenever anybody wants to do a bulleted list or a numbered list or something along those lines in their document, what they generally do is they just come up to these buttons in Word. There's a nice bullets button here. There's a nice little numbering button there, and they just go ahead and they use that. And sometimes they even click the drop down and they pick something from off of there, or they do something off of these. The problem with these is, especially when we get into multiple people working with the document, and maybe this is something you never knew about these buttons, the settings on these buttons are per computer and per profile, which means, for instance, let's say it's just you and you're working on a document at work and you've been using the bullets button up here and you've just been taking the default that it was at and you're fine with that. You email that document to yourself at home, or maybe more modern, it's posted on SharePoint or on OneDrive, and then you come to your home computer and you use Word at home to work on that same document. Excuse me. The problem is what this button here was doing on your work computer may be different than what it's doing on your home computer, because it's based on whatever you last did on that install of Word. So what starts to happen is that you end up with what might look like similar bulleted lists or similar numbered lists, but in reality, they're not. They are different lists. Okay, that's the first part of the problem. So what gets even worse then is if other people are editing this document. They come in, they start working on it, and they just, okay, I need a bulleted list. So they go up and they click on that button. Even worse, now that person's defaults or whatever they used last on this button is not the same as what you were doing in the document. So now you end up with all these different variations of bullets in your document. Now, bullets aren't so bad because at least it's just a bullet, and okay, maybe their circle is slightly different than the other one, and that's not much of a problem. Where this really turns into a mess is numbering. Okay, because there are different ways to apply the numbering up here. Okay, even just with this, yeah, these might look similar, but maybe somebody changes the settings or they create a numbering scheme here. Is this whole define new number format. They create something here that they were using. Well, the problem is that doesn't store in the document, that stores on their workstation. So it gets to yours and you use your default. And now you've got two different kinds of numbered lists in your document. So you end up with things like you then go to do a numbered list and it starts at the number 4. Or, I mean, again, we've run into all the myriad problems. Even worse is, even if you don't have other people involved, there is a whole insane science of how numbered lists work, because maybe you have a numbered list that you do for a while and then you have some other text in between that, and then you want to continue after that. Or you know, the problem here is that those could be Word could think of those as two lists, or it might think of it as one list. And what's also bad is sometimes is another misconception. Let's say you've got a list going here and it starts with a 4 and you're like, no, I want this to be a new numbered list. So you right click it and you say restart at 1. The problem is that's actually not a new list. That's the same list. Weirdly enough, in Word, you can have a list that starts over with the number 1 numerous times. So you might have a list that, if we could look at it internally, looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and Word thinks it's all the same list. It gets even worse. There is a paper out there, a matter of fact, let me bring it up. If you really, really, really want to dive into this, and I did a review of it this morning just to bust my own brain on this. Hold on, let me find it over on my other monitor. If you search out there for, and maybe I'll even post it, there's a document it's an older document. It was written about 15 years ago, I think. So it's not very, it doesn't apply to, well, it still applies, but it's old stuff. But anyways, there's this document called Words Numbering Explained. And again, it can be found on the Word MVP site that's out there. This is 25 pages of brain-busting technical and theoretical stuff about why bullets and numbering go haywire. Now, I've given you the very, very high level, and if I wanted to spend 45 minutes lecturing you on all this stuff, I could. The reality is, don't bother trying to figure it out. Okay, even for myself as an expert in these products, when I was reviewing this paper this morning and looking at it going, oh my God, it makes my brain ache. And some of you might go, well, why hasn't Microsoft fixed it? Why haven't they made it simpler? The problem is you literally now have billions and billions of Word documents out there that function a certain way because of how it's been set up over the years. And if Microsoft made some major changes to that, it could theoretically break documents even further. So we're kind of stuck with this situation. And that's the reality of it. So, and I didn't even get into making things even more complicated when we get into outline numbering and what we call multi-level lists, because you can take the problems of numbered lists and bulleted lists and multiply it literally by 9, because multi-level lists have multiple levels of numbering, so it gets even worse. Okay, it's a nightmare. Here is some, so moving-ish on. First off, it's nuts. And I don't have a very simple explanation other than what can happen could be a nightmare. What I'm going to offer you today, though, are the ability, try to do here is the ability to fix it. Okay, the things you can do in your document to make it better. Now, I got some bad news for you. If you have a document already and you are having problems with bullets, or you're having problems with numbering, and every time you do something, it's coming up a mess, I'm going to tell you this, and you're not going to like this. Oftentimes, it's better to just erase all of the numbering and start over. Seriously, trying to fix broken numbering is insane. And again, it comes down to the whole idea that there can be lists inside of lists inside of lists, and you may have a numbered list inside of another numbered list inside of another numbered list and not realize it. And unfortunately, there's no easy way in Word to expose what's happening there. Like, okay, what list does this belong to? What list does this belong to? And so on and so forth. There's just no way to do it. And so what ends up happening is if you try to fix the numbering just by going through and redoing things, again, you're going to be pulling your hair out and you're just going to go gray. So to be perfectly honest, if you really have a document that's giving you trouble, unfortunately, sometimes the easy solution is do the stuff that we're going to go through here now, and then just redo all of it. Just bite the bullet, redo all of it, enforce style protection and so on and so forth. And trust me, you will be so much happier in the long run. It's just, that's the best advice I can give. Once numbering breaks, if it's a small document, you might be able to recover. But if it's a long document, okay? All right, so enough of that. So let's kind of go to the next level here about what's happening. So how do we get numbering to behave, or what's the next thing to kind of understand in our documents? Well, the theme of all the classes that I've done this week really ties to styles. Yesterday, or depending on when you're watching recordings, yesterday we talked about what did we talk about? I had just brain fart there. Sorry. We did tables of contents and captions and cross references, and those have ties into styles. And if you haven't yet watched the styles and formatting video, I would highly recommend that. Well, it turns out that, not surprisingly to me, the best way to make bullets and numbering behave is to use styles and to really avoid these buttons here at all costs. The first two. The third one we will use because there's more stuff here, and I'm going to explain this whole business of what is this list library versus list styles and multi-level lists and all that's goings on. I'm going to explain all of that. But really, the first piece of advice I can give you when working with bullets and numberings is avoid these buttons, the bullet button and the numbering button. Avoid those like the plague, or even like the current plague that's going on right now, right? Stay away. Okay, so next, let's talk some theory. So if we're supposed to avoid those buttons, what should we do? Well, this is where it's going to still get complicated. All numbering, whether it is just bullets or regular numbering or multi-level list or outline numbering, as you would call it, is all something. Sorry, I know I didn't name which disease. Maybe by the time we watch this, there's another plague going on. So who knows? All numbering, regardless of or bullets, are really something called multi-level lists. So I'm going to just bring up this box right now to discuss something. What's called a multi-level list. So whether it's an outline, whether it is just regular numbering or bullets, they're all actually under the hood, they're the same thing. Okay, that's the first thing to understand. There's actually no difference between them. Really, the only difference is what shows up at the front. If you look here, when it comes to any numbering scheme, or as Word calls it, a multi-level list, you can define up to nine hierarchical levels of numbering. So if you look here, it corresponds to basically what we would call outline numbering, right? Ugh, there's bad memories from English class back in 7th grade, right? All numbering, no matter what, whether it's numbering, outline, or bullets, is what we would call actually multi-level list numbering. The first thing that distinguishes, though, bullets and just this numbering button here is that these are still considered multi-level lists, but Word ignores or disables the other 8 levels, so that really you're doing a multi-level list with one level, okay? So let's understand that. So that's also another part of the problem with these buttons, and I'll kind of get to that here shortly. I know this is a lot of theory. There's a lot of theory here, but I think if you understand it, it will help you going on. So the first thing to understand, all of these are the same thing. They're all multi-level lists. Right now, the difference is with bullets and numbering, it's a multi-level list with one level. Okay, now you might go, wait a minute, I can indent. I'm getting there. Okay, that's the first thing to understand. Now we're going to come back to this box later. So get a good look at this, what's called this multi-level list. Okay. So, actually, I'm not going to just get it. So, the next thing to understand here in Word, now this is a separate topic, is there are styles in your document that are kind of already defined for the different things. There are list bullets, there are list numbering styles already built into the product. And if I go to the styles pane and let me do an all styles here, and I scroll down, if we scroll down this huge list and you start to look, if you look in the list of all styles that are built into the product, you're going to see a bunch of list styles already here in Word. So you'll see there's just this generic list 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There is list bullet 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's this list continue, that's a built-in style. There's also list number. Okay, these are already built into the product. All right, here's what's confusing about these. So sorry, got ahead of myself. So the next thing to understand is there are already built into Word some styles that have to do with numbering. The problem is these things here and these buttons here right now actually really aren't connected to each other. Oh my God, how did you open that style pane? At the bottom of the styles group over here, if you look at the style gallery in the bottom right-hand corner, if you click that little button, that opens up the styles pane. And then to change what it's displaying, just click the options down at the bottom. Okay? All right, there's a lot of stuff here. So let me just kind of write something. So let me write some stuff down here. So far we've got styles. We've got multi-level lists. Okay, we've got styles with list names. We've got that so far. We've got multi-level lists that have some sort of formatting and things in them. We just looked at there are styles with list-like names, but then there's another thing actually called a list style. And this is where, again, there's even more confusion because list styles are different than styles with list names. All right, so let's break this down. So looking over at this panel, all of these styles here all exist independently. This is the first thing to understand about these. What we tend to think when we look at this heading 1 through heading 9, or again, if you come down to this TOC 1 through TOC 9, or you look at any of these kind of labeled numbered lists of styles, you look at them and you go, oh, there must be some sort of relation between those. They're connected somehow. The joke's on you. They're not actually related at all. Here's what I mean by that. Though you might look at this and think, okay, I've got heading 1. Oops, there's a style called heading 1, and then there's some style called heading 2. And you would think that there's some sort of relationship between those, right? You would think, okay, heading 1 relates to heading 2. You would think that's the way Word is set up. The reality is it's not. They're not set up that way. Heading 1 and heading 2 are two styles that happen to have very similar names, but have no relation to each other. It's just like the name John Smith, right? Just because two people have the name John Smith doesn't necessarily mean they're related, or even a John Smith Sr. and a John Smith Jr. They might have very similar names, and if you looked at their names on a piece of paper, you might go, oh my God, these people are related. They might not be. And in the case of Word, all of these numbered styles aren't actually related to each other. So there's the first part of the problem. And that also plays into the whole bit with headings. You're going to see that later on with the heading styles. We have that problem. Okay, so what we've got there is not related. They're not related. That's the first thing we got to keep in mind. Now, there is something in Word called a list style. And let me bring up the graphics for that. So let me scroll through here. So and this is a lot of this is in the document, the handout that I get to you later. So as I just mentioned, for example, with the heading styles that exist, let me see if I can blow this up a bit more without losing detail. There we go, now you can really see it. So let's use headings as an example. There are 9 heading styles that are built into Word. They have similar names, but they actually aren't related to each other. They just happen to be 9 styles that have similar names. And the same goes for the list number styles, and the same thing goes for the list bullet styles. They are, in the case of numbers and bullets, there's only 5. With headings, there's 9. But in any of the cases, they just happen to be 5 styles that have similar names. They're not actually related to each other. Now, there's another type of style that's literally a group of styles, or what's called a list style. A list style can consist up to 9 paragraph styles. But the difference where a list style differs is by its very definition, a list style has 9 slots that are related to each other. Okay? This panel here in Word does not show you any list styles. Okay, I got to be really clear about this because the terminology is confusing. This styles pane, for lack of a better way to call it, just shows you single styles, single lonely whatever styles. Okay, that's all it shows you, the names of the styles. It doesn't actually show you list styles. Why? Well, because list styles, as we'll see later, are hiding under the multi-level list button. And if you actually look down here at the bottom, we're going to come to this later, notice it says define new list style. Okay? Are you keeping all this straight? I hope I'm doing a good job of this because I know it's complicated. You might even have to watch this video a couple times, but trust me, we're heading there. So, to review, heading styles, list number, list bullet styles, they all have similar names, but they're not related. An actual true list style is 9 related styles. Now, what's cool, so here's a way to visualize this. So here's another way to visualize this. So what's interesting, the next thing that's kind of interesting about list styles is that, yeah, there's stuff that's stored in each of the definitions of the first 9 levels. But what's also kind of interesting about list styles is that each level of a list style can be told to relate to an existing style. Okay? So we've got these 9 list styles, and what we can do is say, hey, for list style, let's just say list style 1, in this list style at its level 1, you can actually say that, hey, that's also related to an already existing style that's in the document, okay? You see where we're going with this? So what we can do, again, let's talk headings, but the same applies to bullets and numbering. So what we can do is say, okay, in this list style at level 1, let's equate that with heading 1 so that anytime I apply the list style, the first level is going to have heading 1 and the next level is going to have heading 2 and so on and so forth. So what you end up getting is something that kind of looks like this, okay? We now have 9 related styles in a hierarchy that also now have styles applied to them, okay, or styles related to them. In the case of bullets and numbering, what we would do is we would just use the first 5, okay, as we're going to go through and we do the definition. So level 1 of the list style is going to be list bullet 1, and this will be list bullet 2 and list bullet 3 and list bullet 4 and list bullet 5. So now they will actually all be related to each other. Then once we do that all relationship, then we're going to come back and remember on this button, there was this whole business about multi-level lists. So we connect everything. Okay, we create a list style. It already comes with 9 slots. Again, it's like buying a pre-made burger, okay? The burger comes a certain way. List styles, by the type that they are, they're different from regular styles. Regular styles, you get 1 style. You buy a list style, you get 9 slots, yay. And in those 9 slots, you can put things. And in list styles, one of the properties amongst many things you can do in a list style, one of the properties of each of these levels is its numbering. And that's what a multi-level list is. So we can take the 9 levels of a multi-level list. They are already assigned to and associated with the 9 levels in a list style, which can further be related to the 5 or 9 levels of the heading styles or list bullets or list numbers. Do you see where we're going with this? When we find, oh, am I losing my internet connection? I've got a internet connection is unstable. Can everybody hear me okay? I just got a mess. Is everything all right? I think so. Can you all hear me? Well, the recording will be fine because it's recording local. Okay, thanks, Dean. So anyways, it's brain busting. It's a lot to think about. But when you understand these things, what we're about to do makes a whole lot more sense. So what it's going to break down to is this. We create a list style. So I go to Word and I say, all right, give me the framework. Give me that set of already related 9 levels. Then we say, okay, for that set of levels, here is the kind of numbering that I want to do, whether it's bullets or outlines or headings or whatever. Then we also associate each of the levels of a list style with some sort of regular single style, so that when I go into the document and I want to apply a bullet or I want to apply numbering or a numbered heading or an outline, you use the single styles, because the single styles have actually now been related by the list style. Make sense? God, I hope so. If not, watch this again. This will make a lot more sense once we start to do it, but I want to explain the theory first and then we'll go through 3 examples to show you how this is all done. And we're going to start with the easiest-ish one, and that's with bullets. Okay, so let me zoom out a little bit and let's do a bulleted list. So let's put all of this to work. So I'm going to come over to my Word document and I'm just going to come down here and let me dismiss the styles panel for the time being. And let's create a set of bullets that we can use in our document. I want to create a list style for the bullets, and then I'm going to format it and associate it with built-in styles. So here we go. As I mentioned, avoid these first 2 buttons like the plague. Pick your plague, I don't care. Avoid those and go to the 3rd button here, okay? Go to that 3rd button which says multi-level list, and you're gonna click its drop down, and you're gonna go all the way to the bottom. Okay, again, this is confusing here, and there's so many terms here in Word that use the word list, which just drives me nuts, but this is how it is. It'll make more sense as we go, I hope. You don't want to define a new multi-level list because that's half of it. That's part of the whole. We want to do the whole list style, because what you're going to see is a multi-level list is part of a list style. If I had to graph it out, it's more like this. List style, okay, contains, oops, that was bad, contains a multi-level list. I spelled that wrong, but you get it. I need to do some smart art for this stuff. I'm sorry I haven't had time to do it. All right, so let's start. I'm going to click this drop down and I'm going to say define a new list style. So what you actually get is a box that if you've ever created a style should look very familiar. This looks almost exactly like the regular box when I'm just creating a single style. But if you notice, it says define new list style. Okay, so it's a different kind of style. So what we need to do is give the list style a name, okay? I would recommend a name that's easy to identify and don't use the word list in it. As corny as it may sound, I'm actually going to call this my bullets, okay? And I like to do it all as one word. You can do it as two. If you call it list bullets, you're going to get a little confused, and I do need to update the courseware. I think in there I do say list bullets, but do something here. I would avoid the word list. So I'm just going to do my bullets. You could call it document bullets, or just call it something so that you know this is the list style. Or maybe I'll call it my bullets list style. There we go. Now I really know that if I ever see that word, my bullets list style, we're talking about the whole list style, and you'll understand why as we do this. So that's the name of it. All right. Now, there's already some numbering and things built in. I mean, I could just say okay to this, and as you'll see right here, the default would be to use outline numbering. Well, that's not what I want. I do want my own sort of numbering scheme here. I'm just building bullets. So what I need to do is, first off, ignore all of this business here. Just ignore it, because what we're actually going to do is we're going to format other styles. So just ignore this whole business, the whole thing here, just ignore it, and come down to here where it says format. And on the format button in the bottom corner, choose numbering. Now, does this look familiar? We actually saw this earlier, right? Now we're in the part of the list style where it's asking, okay, you've got a list style. What do you want the multi-level numbering to look like? That's what bothers me about the phrasing here, is this says multi-level list. Okay. So we're going to change this. We want this to be a bulleted list, not an outline list. So we're going to do that. Now, the next thing, before I would start that though, come down to the bottom here where it says more and display the entire box, because there's more things here that are important to adjust and change. So just go ahead and do that right now. Now, the next steps that I'm going to do, you can do them in either order, but I'm going to do a particular way. If you want to do it the other way around, that's fine. So the first thing before I actually even set up the numbering is I want to associate each level of the numbered list with one of the other styles, right? We talked about that earlier. And the way to do that is here in this box. So I've got level 1, and I want level 1 of the list style to equate to list bullets 1, right? That goes back to this diagram. Let me go back to this diagram here. We're kind of at this stage right now where we're going to build up these links. Okay, we're going to build up these links of the list style to some other sort of style. So let me come back over here to Word, and that's why you need to click the more, otherwise this stuff over here doesn't show up. So I want level 1 of this list style to be equated to list bullet 1. So I'm going to click this drop down. Now the sucky thing here is that this drop down is not in alphabetical order, and it's tiny. You can't make this any bigger. So you're going to have to just kind of manually scroll. So I'm going to scroll all the way down, not to list, because there's lots of, and this is again confusing, there's a lot of list styles already here. You're going to look for list bullet. okay? And when I do that, look in the middle here. Now, level 1 of the list style is related to level 1 of, it's going to equate to list bullet level 1. So now I'm going to go down the first 5 and do this over and over again. So I'm going to go to list 2, and I want that to be list bullet 2. Now this is tedious. Unfortunately, there's no fast way to do this. So I'm literally just going to have to go list bullet 2. I'm going to go to 3, scroll down to list bullet 3. Dun, 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 dun. I know this is annoying, but it's the only way to do it. Go to 4. All right. And make sure you're clicking on the right ones. And you can check yourself by looking in that middle section. So let's go down to list bullet 4. And then this only goes 5 levels. Even if you're not planning on using all 5 levels, do it. Just do the work. All right. So I'm going to come all the way down to list bullet 5. We're just going to ignore 6, 7, 8, and 9 because there's no levels there. So now looking here, you should see list bullet 2, 3, 4, 5. It should show up here. And if you click on the numbers over on the side, you should see the link level to style is over here as well. All right. Double check this. Make sure you have them in the right order. Because again, there's nothing that says they have to be this way. Theoretically, I could make list bullet 5 the first one, then list bullet 2, then list bullet 1, then list bullet 4, because they're just independent styles. Now that would be silly. It's possible. Don't do that. All right. So now we've done this part. Okay, we've done this part. We've linked the list style to styles in our document. Now let's make bullets, because right now this is all still outline numbering. So skip this enter formatting and come down to here where it says number style for this level. Keep in mind, I said this earlier, we tend to think of bullets and outlines and numbering as different things. Word, nope, it's all the same thing. And I'm going to prove that here in just a second. So I'm going to go into the number style for this level. I'm going to click the drop down. And if you scroll down, there's lots of different numbering styles, but then there's also a bunch of bullet options. So I'm going to keep this simple. I'm just going to go with a solid circle. Now, if you want the same bullet at all 5 levels, you could do that. If you want different bullets, you could do that. So let's go to level 2. All right, what do I want there? I don't want ABC, I want a bullet. Now, if you want the same bullet, there are some that are already here. If the bullet you want isn't there, scroll all the way down to new bullet, and you get, just like you do with the other bullets, you can pretty much pick any symbol that you want. Okay, so if you want an open circle, you want a square, just go to any font and pick the symbol that you want to use. I'm just going to keep it simple for right now, so I'm just going to do solid bullets. And actually, that's kind of how I like to do things. I feel the indentation tells me enough. I don't need to have circles and squares and yada, yada, yadas. To me, it's all about the indentation. So I want solid circle. Again, do all 5. You might as well. You're here, do it so that you don't run into issues later. All right. So I'm going to do solid circle for all of them. Notice that by default, the multi-level list does indentations for each level in, which is again something we would want in a bulleted list. Okay, you'll see when we do numbered headings, you might want to switch that. And that comes down to this stuff down here where it says bullet position. You can from here start to adjust the indents and all that other sort of stuff and change the tab characters and do all kinds of stuff there. My recommendation is go with the defaults first, and then if you need to tweak stuff, come in here. And furthermore, instead of trying to do this level by level, just click on set for all levels and increase them together. So if 1/4 of an inch is too small, do 1/2 an inch or whatever, okay? Just set the settings here. Personally, I'm fine with the 1/4 inches, so I'm okay here. So to review, here, we've now associated each list style level with an existing list bullet style, and we've gone to each list level and said what kind of numbering we want. Okay? So now I'm going to say okay. All right? I'm not going to do anything else right here. Okay? And now I'm going to say okay here. Okay. Now, Word is going to go ahead and apply that style to wherever you were in the document. That's okay. You can just erase it. Now, let me open my styles pane. All right. Now, let's say you want to apply that style. You want to actually start using it in your document. What you don't want to do is you still don't want to use these buttons up here. Now, this is going to be the hard habit to break. Now that you've taken all the time to do this, what you need to do is you need to use the styles that are built into the document. Okay, don't use these buttons, because if I go up to this bullets button and I do anything up here, that is completely independent and separate from all of that work that I just did. Okay, all of that work I just did to set up bullets and set up numbering is all related to styles, and these three buttons here aren't related to styles, with the exception of, now if I go to the multi-level list button and click the drop down, you'll now see a new section here that says list styles, because we did create a list style. And here is my list style that I created. And if I hover over it, you actually see the name. See, it says my bullets list style. And there's even a little small picture, which I could apply it from here. This is one way to do it, okay? I could click this and create a bulleted list. The other way to do it is just to use the styles that are already built in. So if I now come down here in the list pane and I'm showing all of them, and you can pin stuff and so on and so forth, these 5 styles that were already built into Word are now going to do the things that I want them to do, because I associated them with the list style. By virtue of the list style, they're now actually all connected, okay? So what I can do is, if I want a bulleted list, now what I actually would do is click list bullet. There, I've got a bulleted list. And now I can start to go item 1, item 2, item 3. All right, do I need to indent the next one? I could either click list bullet 2 over here, or I can use the actual indents button, and that's actually going to apply the correct style. So this is an indented item. Okay, maybe I need to indent again. Okay, I'm going to click the next indent. Look, it switches to list bullet 3. Okay, and it's doing what it needs to do because I created the list style, and everything is all related through the list style. Are you following me here? God, I hope so. Okay, now there's one downside to all of this. We've done all this work. Something that you're used to in your documents is that when you, I'm sure you're used to this, you do a bulleted list, you do a numbered list, and then you're done with it. And generally what you can do in Word is hit enter a couple of times and it kicks you out of the list, right? It stops doing the bullets. But there's a slight problem with this whole method. Do you notice it? Notice, take a look at where I'm at in the document. There's no bullet here, but look what style is actually still being applied to the text. And this is where we've got a problem. Take a look at my styles pane. The styles pane always tells you what style is actually being applied. Let me throw some text here. Not that it's going to matter. What happened? What's going on with my text here? What style is applied to that text? Is it the normal style, or is it something else? Anyone? Anyone that's on the call? Any of you 6? Here's a hint. What style is being applied? It's list bullet. Okay, yeah. And that's why, look how screwy my text is coming out. You're like, wait a minute, why is my text formatted like that? What the heck's going on? Well, it's because of how styles work. Unfortunately, the double enter trick doesn't work to turn off a style. It does work if I was just using these buttons. But to turn off the style, it doesn't work that way, because styles just keep going until you turn them off. So the way around the problem is to either, after you're done doing a list, to change the style manually, is to change style manually, or type up everything and then apply your list styles later. Now there is, fortunately, if I remember right, there is a keyboard shortcut. Let me look up real quick. I think I have it in my notes here. I don't remember it off the top of my head. It is to reapply the normal style. Control-Shift-N. So If you want to get into the habit of after you're done with a list, you want to return to normal. If you do Control-Shift-N as in Nancy, that kicks you back to normal style and you can move on in your document. So if you can train yourself to say, when I'm done with a bulleted list, and this is going to apply to the other stuff too, when I'm done with a bulleted list or when I'm done with a numbered list, don't hit enter twice because you're going to be fooled into thinking that the list ended. The reality is it just erases the bullet but keeps the style, and that may screw things up. This is the one downside to all of this. There's no way around it. Okay, trust me, I've researched, I've looked, and the materials and everything, they've all said, but I think the trade-off is worth it because now my bullets are going to behave no matter what. Okay? All right, so let's take that knowledge and apply it to numbers. Okay, we're still going to stick, let's deal with a numbering scheme. So again, this is where we run into lots of problems, but we just basically repeat the exact, almost literally the exact same steps that we just did. All right, so there we go, managing numbered lists. So now let's do the same thing for a numbered list. Now, by the way, just before I move on, the My Bullets list style will never appear over here and it will not appear in the gallery because it's a list style. The gallery and the styles pane don't list styles. The place to find the list styles is over here, okay? This is where I'd find the My Bullet list style. All you're going to find in the gallery and the pane is the existing styles, okay? List bullet 1 through 5, that's what you use. If you really wanted to take this further, the reality is that you could, if you were really hardcore, you could actually just create 5 styles on your own and then tie those 5 new styles to your list style. There's nothing that says I have to use the built-in ones that are here. Okay? Furthermore, now if I want to change how certain things about my bulleted list works, what you do is change the individual styles. So maybe I want all of my first level list bullets to maybe be bold and have a certain amount of space after them. Great, right here where it says list bullet, I'm going to click the drop down. I'm going to say modify. I get this box, all right, make them all 12-point bold, and let's stick some format, let's put some space after them. Let's do after, I get rid of that, say okay, say okay. Look, now my list changes how it looks. You want to do it to the individual styles instead of trying to do it here, as we were talking about earlier. You can do this stuff from here, but I don't know, to me it's harder to follow. This screen is just, it doesn't have enough of this stuff. So instead of trying to adjust the level formatting here, just format it directly from the styles, in the style list. Sorry, I got a little confused there. Okay? All right, are we ready to move on to numbering? Because it's very similar. All right, it's a good review too. We'll do it again, and then we'll do numbered headings. Those are my favorite. All right, so where do we start? Avoid these like the plague. We go to here. I want to build, do I want a multi-level list or do I want a new list style? Audience, which one do I want? Do I want a multi-level list or do I want to create a new list style? Which one am I creating to start off the whole process? You got to learn this. I'm already giving you a hint. It's the list style. Yep. Okay, we want a list style. Excellent. Because remember, multi-level lists are part of list styles. So here we go. Define new list styles. So I'm going to call this my numbering. Okay, whatever. The name doesn't matter a whole lot. Just make it distinctive. Okay, my numbering scheme. There we go. All right, next step. Ignore all the stuff in the middle. Come down to the format button. We want to go right to numbering. Okay. Aha, here's the multi-level list box. If you don't see all of it, make sure you click more. Okay. Next, let's associate each level of the multi-level list with an existing style. Okay. So level 1, what we want to do this time is, since we're doing numbering, I'm going to click the drop down over here and scroll all the way down until I get to not list 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's different. You want to do, and not list continue. Notice there are list number. So I'm going to do list number, and I'm going to go to level 2. Okay, I'm going to do, I want this to be list number 2. I wish there was a faster way to do this. Okay, list number 2. We're going to go to 3. I should have a little Jeopardy music or some filler music here. List number 3. List number 4. Come on, list number 4. Okay, list number 4 and list 5. That's our last one. We're not going to do, there's no 6, 7, 8, and 9. Okay, list number 5. All right. Now, when we did bullets, the next thing that we did was that we went past this and we just said number style for this level. And we just went right to and we started picking bullets. But now, since we're not doing bullets, we actually have to consider how do we want our numbers to look? Because if you look in this list right now, they've got a number and then a parenthesis. And maybe that's not what you want. And that's where we get the enter formatting for this number. Right now, it's got, what Word is going to do is it's going to do the number and then a right parenthesis. Well, I don't want that. So I'm going to delete the parenthesis, leave that 1 that's there, because if I delete that, that's a code. Notice it's in gray. I want it to be 1, period. Okay? All right, let's look at level 2. All right, level 2 is going to use letters. Now, do I want to go to numbers there? I could change that, and I could with the number style for this level. Okay, so in my numbered list that I'm defining, I can choose how I want this to go. Do I want to still kind of continue with outline numbering, or do I want to do something different? All right, I'll kind of go along with that. So A is fine, but I don't like the parenthesis there, so I'm just going to do A, period. Now we get down to level 3, and it's going to Roman numerals. Nah, I don't want Roman numerals. Let's go back to numbers. So on the number style for this level, I'm going to switch it back to numbers. And again, I don't want a parenthesis. I want a period. You can do whatever you want there, a period, a dash, a colon, a semicolon, whatever you want, okay? I like periods. Okay, level 4. All right, it's doing numbers, and it's got both parentheses. All right, I don't like that. I want to go back to letters. Let's go to small letters. And let's get rid of that parenthesis, and let's get rid of that. So you see what I'm doing here? I'm customizing each level the way I want it to look. Again, it's tedious, it takes time, but it's sweet, sweet rewards later. All right, so my last one, if I'm alternating numbers and letters, all right, so this needs to go back to numbers, and I'm going to get rid of that first parenthesis, and I'm going to do dots. So I just want this simple 1A, 1A, 1. That's what I want. If you want to use the Roman numeral numbering, whatever you, maybe you want them all numbers. Maybe you want it all letters. I don't know, your choice, okay? As before, there's all kinds of stuff down here. Unless you got a really good reason to change it, I would just leave it alone, okay? Unless you want to change the spacing, all right? So I'm going to click OK. I'm going to click OK. And as you can see, when I do that, it actually already starts to apply the formatting, which is fine. If I actually don't need that right now, I can just do clear all. And I'm good. So now, just like with the bulleted list, when it's time for me to do a numbered list, what I'm going to, I can go one of 2 ways. I can go up here and I can apply now, look, when I go to the multi-level list button, look here. Here is the My Bullets list style, and here is the My Numbering scheme. I could apply it from there, or if it's in the, if you've got it in the gallery, if you said add to Quick Styles gallery, it looks like I did not add it there. Nope, but I could. Or you can look in the styles list here and just find list number. And look, even here, look, the numbering has changed. It's the way I want it. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do list number. Aha, there we go. So now I can do step 1, step 2, step 3. Okay, oh, the next one is actually, there needs to be some steps underneath that. Okay, again, we use the increase and decrease indent. Ah, look at that. It switches to list number 2 like it's supposed to. This is a sub-step, and another sub-step, and another sub-step. Okay, now I want to go back out. Oops, what did I just do there? Sorry. Why are you not? There we go, sorry. Okay, decrease the indent. I'm back to number 4. This is step 4. All right, now I'm done with my list. I can press enter to get 5, but don't press enter again. because it's not actually going to turn off the stuff, or it might look like it. Again, we're going to run into the same problem. If I hit enter again, it looks like the number disappeared and it looks like I'm back to normal. But the reality is I'm not. The reality is I'm actually still in the list number style. And that could, if I change the formatting of the style later, that could inadvertently affect all kinds of stuff in my text. Here's what I mean by that. So let's do this. We're still in the, well, I can already see it happen, right? There's something screwy going on here. But just to show you, even if that didn't happen, if I now modify the list number style to say that it's all 14 points and orange, watch what's going to happen to all that text. You may be like, whoa, why did all that text change as well? Because it still has the other style applied to it. I know, this is going to take some getting used to. This is tough, but the work is worth the reward. All right, so let's undo that. To fix this, I actually want normal style. Just learn that Control-Shift-N applies normal style. Or if in your document you're using a different base style for your text, you might not have a keyboard shortcut for that, so you might have to either create a macro or a shortcut key to apply the style that you want, okay? All right. But now you can see that in my numbered list, things are behaving. And if I come down to another list, I want to do a new numbered list down here. I can just always go to the list bullet. Oh, sorry, not list bullet. I wanted list number. Got too much stuff in my document. Let's cut this down to what I just need to see. Let's do in use. There we go. That's easy. I click list number. Now, it started with a 5. Okay, that's not what I want. So I can right click this and say restart at 1 and go from there. That goes a little against what I talked about earlier, but it actually goes with what I've talked about, because since everything is now tied to styles, it's actually going to work the way it should. I know that seems a little counterintuitive, but trust me. Okay? So there we go. We've got our numbering fixed. So now we've got our bullets fixed and we've got our numbers fixed. Now you might be wondering, and we'll get to this at the end, how do I stop people from using those buttons? Well, that's the hard part. I'm going to show you some ways to try to troubleshoot that, or things that you can do. Again, there are trade-offs. Okay? All right. Any questions before we move on to the next example? Okay. By the way, actually, before we move on, if you do want to change things after the fact, what you want to change depends on where you go depends on what you want to change. If you want to change the look of the text that's in a bullet or in the number, as I already did, go to the individual style for that level and make the change. Okay. So if I want, so like on my list bullets here, they're all bold. Okay. So I would modify that. I would come in, do any of the stuff that I want to from here. Okay, all right, maybe I don't want them bold, but I want them to be in green. Okay, I would do that from here. If you want to adjust anything about the bullet itself, you want to go to the list style itself, like anything that's related to the overall list style. So in that case, I would come up to the multi-level list button. Here are the list styles. I can right click on the one that I want to fix. So in this case, I want to modify the list bullets. And then I can come in here. I can go to format, numbering, and now let's say for level 1, I don't want circles anymore. I would rather that they be, let's do the solid diamond. Okay, say okay, say okay. And why did it not adjust itself? It was supposed to adjust itself. What did I do wrong? Maybe on a new list. You know what? I think it's with new lists. Why did that not take? What did I do wrong? Modify, format, numbering. Oh, it's still typed up here. Okay, sorry. List level 1, come up to the formatting. All right, I wanted it, unless my mouse screwed up. I need a new mouse. I'm having some problems with it. Diamond. It's not letting me change it. All right, I don't want to, why are you being stubborn? All right, I'll figure it out later. Change it from there, okay? All right, ready to move on? So Let's take now all of what we've learned and now really up the ante to headings, right? And let me clear all my style, clear that. So numbered headings are something we find in documents a lot, especially in legal fields or especially in government with proposals and stuff like that. Sometimes people try to tie headings to numbering. And again, probably they can do that. But often if they don't do it right, you run into issues. And what that all comes back to is this business here, is that amongst all of the styles that we've talked about so far, you probably didn't even know there was list bullet styles, and you probably didn't know that there was list number styles, but almost everybody knows that there's heading styles. But again, the main problem with the heading styles is how they're actually set up. And it's like I said before, the 9 heading styles that are in Word don't actually have a relationship between them. They're actually just 9 completely independent styles. And so when people do this the wrong way, they try to format each individual style, but then the numbering doesn't work properly, or they try to create a numbering scheme and they apply numbers, but then they do a table of contents and their numbering doesn't get picked up in the table of contents because they didn't use headings and so on and so forth. So we have to do this the right way. Now, what we're talking about here with this numbering style, oops, go back to clear all. What I'm trying to accomplish here is something like this, where I have chapter 1. Okay, and I did not want that automatic, so let's stop, undo automatic numbering. And then maybe there is I didn't want a list. Thank you, Word. And then maybe I have let's clear all here. All right, it's being stubborn. 1 dot. Stop automatically creating numbered lists. All right, clear all, and let me just type that. Word, you really are driving me nuts. Undo the automatic numbering. All right, back to normal. All right, let's say you're trying to, but basically we're trying to do that 1.1, 1.1.1, 1.1.1.1, okay? You're trying to do things like this. Yeah, it's keep trying to apply the style for me and it's driving me crazy and I don't know why it's not stopping. But anyways, that's what we're trying to set up here, is have that, you know what, the easiest way is just do a brand new document. We're trying to set up that sort of deal where we can do 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, and then 1.1.1.1, so on and so forth. So what we're going to do is we're going to create that numbering scheme and tie it to headings. And it's all going to be based on a list style. Okay, so let me come down here, just any old spot. Again, we need to create a new list style to handle this. So your temptation would be to come up here and do stuff with the heading styles. Don't do that. So once again, we're going to come here. We're going to do a new list style. Okay, I'm going to give it a name, my numbered headings. Okay, I know it's a cheesy name. I hate calling things my like that, but and come up with something else if you want. Just I try to avoid the word list. That just creates more confusion because there's too many things named list already. So I'm going to call this my numbered headings. Okay. Next step is the same step we've done. Ignore the stuff in the middle. Come down to format. Click on numbering. We're going to do the same steps, almost the same steps as here. But now we're going to deal with all 9 levels because unlike bullets and unlike numbering, headings have 9 levels. So we can actually use all 9 levels now. So tedious work time again. We're going to go through and associate every level of our multi-level list with one of the heading levels. So I'm going to start with level 1. And fortunately, now the heading levels are close to the top of the list. So this is going to go a lot faster. So now I can do heading 1, heading 2. Okay, go to 3, heading 3. Go to number 4, just going to do all 9 of them. This should go pretty fast because fortunately they're right at the top of the list. So there's 5. Here is 6. 7. Do all of them. Again, even if you don't plan on using them, just do it all anyways. Trust me. Okay, 9, it's good practice. And now level 9, okay? So there's our first part. Now we've done taking each level of the multi-level list and associating it with one of the heading styles. So we have literally just done this part right here. Take a list style, associate heading styles so that it all relates together. So now all the heading styles are connected, just like we did with bullets and just like we did with numbers. So now they're all connected. Now it's all a hierarchy. It's a party, okay? Now, here's where it gets tricky. We want to do that whole business of 1, 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, 1. And so on and so forth. And what that means is that we're including numbers from previous levels. So this is gonna be some work, but again, it's beautiful once you do it. So let's go back to level 1. This is the easiest one to deal with. For right there, we don't need to change much. It's just 1. I know I don't want a right parenthesis. I just want 1 dot. So I'm good there. Okay? Easy enough. Level 1's easy. Level 2 is where it gets hard, and it's going to get progressively harder. So let's go to level 2. And we have to think about this. All right, we definitely don't want an A there. That's not how this works. We want numbers. So I'm going to go into here where it says enter formatting for the number, and I'm just going to clear out everything. Now, don't come down here where it says number style for this level. Listen very carefully. When we do this hierarchical numbering of 1.1, what does the first one represent? If I've got numbering where I'm going 1.1, what is the first number in that sequence? Is that, and I don't want to say any more without giving it away. What does that first number represent? Does it represent the second level or the first level? The number from level 1. So what we need to do for the numbering at this level, since we're down at level 2, is we need to include the number above it. And that's right here, include level number from. So I want to start off with that. So I want level 1. So I'm going to click the drop down. Look here, it says level 1. And notice it pulls in the numbering from level 1. Okay, so now I'm going to type a dot because I need a dot between them. And now I want to say, what does level 2 look like? And that's where we go for the number style for this level. So I'm going to say 1, 2, 3, da, da, and I'm going to do a dot after that. Some people do the dot, some people don't. That's up to you. So now it's going to include the number from level 1 and the numbering for level 2. So let's go to level 3. Okay. All right. I don't want a Roman numeral there, so I'm going to delete everything in the enter formatting for this number. So if I've got now 1.1.1, what do I do? What's the first number represent? Level 1. The second number, level 2. Then level 3. So as you're going to see, this is going to get cumulatively more work, but again, worth the effort. So I'm going to go through this as fast as I can, but hopefully you'll catch what I'm doing. So include level number from. Now you got to pay attention, because if you get these out of order, you'll notice it right away in your document. So I'm going to do this quickly because I know what I'm doing. When you set this up, be very meticulous. If you mess it up, if you do mess it up, don't panic. It's easy to come back in here and fix it. Matter of fact, I helped somebody last week before, with this exact problem. So include level number from level 1 dot level 2 dot. Now don't forget, you need the current level. All right, that's another mistake I've seen is people go, oh, I'm done, and then they go on to the next one. It's like, no, you got to include the current level. Watch what you're doing here. That's always the give. That's always the guide. All right, so now I need the current level. 1, 2, 3 dot level 4. So we're just going to go over it. Delete everything in the box. Level 1 dot level 2 dot level 3 dot. In this level, there's the numbering dot. Level 5, erase everything. Level 1 dot level 2 dot level 3 dot level 4. Okay, you just got to keep going. Don't forget to add the number for the current level. All right, again, I'm going to do all of them. You might as well. You're here. I mean, you don't have to, but it's just good habit, good practice. Level 1 dot level 2, 3, 4, 5, and for level 6. All right, I'm going to stop there. No, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it anyways. Good practice for the video. All right, here we go. I know, it's a lot of work. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and I'm on level 7. There we go. Go to 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now I got to scroll 7. And this is level 8, include the number there. 1 more to go, 9, and we're done. Yay, I know, it's work. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then level 9. There we go. Now, the other thing I like to adjust here when I do number, now, okay, so we did all the numbering. There, now it's going to work the way I want it to. Now, here is one step we didn't do for bullets and numbered lists, is generally with those hierarchical lists, we want there to be indentations because everything is together. But generally with numbered headings, you're going to have the heading and then a bunch of other text. And if you start to do all these indented headings, that might look weird in your document. So generally, when we do these numbered headings, they're all lined up on the left. But again, it depends on the requirement of your document. And there's, again, different ways to set that up. Personally, I like it so that they're all lined up along the left margin. And then we just use different formatting to distinguish what's what. So what I'm going to do here is on the set for all levels, I don't want each level to be indented. I want them all to be on the left margin. So what I'm going to do is set for all levels. And I'm just going to say under the additional indent, I want that at 0. I'm going to say OK. And now notice they're all just going to line up on the left margin. Because if you don't do that, then in your document, your headings might keep moving over in the document, but your text will be left aligned and your headings are going to look kind of weird, unless that's the requirements for what you've got. Okay, so now I'm going to click OK here. So I've got all the numbering. Double check, make sure you see the words headings in here. They're in the right order. It's hard to know whether you did this numbers stuff right. It's kind of hard to do it by looking at it. Just take your time, practice, okay? Do you need to do all 9? No, you don't have to. If you just want to do the first 3 because you don't, whatever. But me, I always set them all up because that way I just know it's done. It's set up that way. So now I'm going to click OK, and I'm going to click OK. All right, so I don't need a heading 1 there. All right, so now, yeah, maybe I'm going to start my document and I want to use those heading styles. And if you even look now up in the box, the heading styles actually have the numbering on them like they're supposed to. So I can do heading 1 and say this is, I can have my chapter 1. Now, here is where heading styles are different than all the other stuff. Remember we said with bulleted and numbered lists that if you press enter twice, that doesn't really turn off the formatting. Oddly enough, it's already built into Word that with heading styles that they turn off after. So you don't have to worry about returning to normal text when you do this with heading styles. It's only with bulleted lists and numbered lists. And without going into too much explanation, it just has to do with the fact that it's always assumed, and so it's kind of built into the product, for lack of a better way to say it, that when you do a heading, the next thing is not going to be a heading. It's going to be regular text. All right, so chapter 1, it was a dark and stormy night. Okay, if you need other formatting and whatnot, but you can do it. So, okay, so now I need my next level. So I can just go here to heading 2 and look, 1.1, blah, blah, blah. All right, type my stuff there. Now I need the next one. I can apply the next heading to hello world, and it works. More text. All right, now I need to go back to a heading 1. Look at that. It's got a 2. Hey, it's working. Now maybe I come up into here. Maybe I got to do 1 in between these. All I got to do, heading 2. Look at that. The numbering fixed itself. Okay. Hi there. I'm just writing more stuff. All right. Maybe this now. Maybe I need a new heading 1 here. I need a new chapter. Heading. Look at that. It's perfect. It's working exactly the way I want it to. If I don't like how this formatting looks here, right? If I don't like how this looks, that's okay. That's all about just changing the individual heading styles. So I come over here and say, all right, heading 1, I don't want, use regular Calibri. Doesn't need to be 16 points. Let's make it 14 bold, and I want it black. There we go. modify the individual heading styles as opposed to modifying all the other sort of stuff. Okay? So there is our numbered headings. Isn't that cool? So now in this document, I have my bullets are set up, my numbering is set up, and I've got numbered headings, and it's all going to work great. Now, let's say you want to use this in another document. You got a couple of options. One option I'd highly recommend is make this as a base template for your document. Okay, this you could take, I could delete all this text, okay, and save this as a template, and all of that information, all those heading styles and everything else will be built into that template. And I could say, okay, this is the document, this is the template that I'm going to use when I do numbered documents. You could even call the template fixed numbering, whatever you want to call it. You could do a template that way. You could also transfer you can transfer this style information to another document that maybe already exists, okay? That's a little more complicated, but you can use something called the styles organizer to transfer styles. First off, what you need to do is you need to go to the developer tab. If you don't see the developer tab in Word, just right click on any of the tabs up top and say customize the ribbon. And you'll get this box. Look over on the right-hand side and just make sure that the developer one has a checkbox in it. So just check that off, and then you'll see that the developer tab is visible. And once that's visible, then you're going to click on Document Template, okay? And when I click on that, down in the bottom corner here, hiding is something called Organizer. And I can click on that. And what I can do is that I can take any of the styles that I've created here and transfer them to another template or another document. And what you want to transfer is not the individual styles, rather your list styles. So the my bullets, so here we go. Here's the, now in this, notice here now it lists our list styles. So I'd want to transfer over the my bullets list style, the my numbered headings, and the my numbering scheme. And I can transfer those over to another document. What that'll do is it will transfer stuff over in the associations. Your styles might end up a little different, or the individual styles. If you want to transfer those over as well, you can. So if I transfer the lists, that doesn't transfer these, which means the other document could have certain other, formatting for it. It's up to you to what you want to transfer over. But basically, find the stuff here, transfer over to what you want. So you have to open that up. So right now, maybe I don't want this open. I could say close file, open, find another document, search your system, find either another template or a document, open it up, transfer the items over, and now all that stuff's over there. That is, again, if you want to put that all in another document. Now, simply putting or transferring those styles to another document isn't going to fix everything. You're still going to have to then go through that document and apply all those styles the way you want to apply them. Or again, if you want to just have this as a template for brand new documents, go to File, go to Save As, and save this as a template. Change the file type and save it as a template. Oops, I didn't want to go there. Just go to Save As and save it as a Word template, and then just base it off of that. Okay. All right. So our last little bit is how do I then enforce this? And this is kind of I don't want to say tricky, but it's a good thing overall when you're collaborating on documents, but it's guaranteed to annoy your coworkers. And that is that not only in documents can we protect them from editing. You're probably all familiar with that feature, right? You can protect a document so that people can look at it, but they can't make any changes. But what's also interesting in that feature is that you could definitely leave the entire document open for editing, but say they can only apply formatting by way of styles. So let me close the styles pane. Again, this is on the developer tab, or it's also found on one of the other tabs. Let me find real quick. It's on review. You can find this in either place. And it's on the review tab. Also restrict editing is there. So I'm going to go to restrict editing. And in the top section here, there's a limit formatting to a selection of styles. So I'm going to select that, and then I'm going to click settings. And what I can do is that I can come in here and say that only certain styles can be used for formatting things in the document. So you can go through here, pick the ones that you want, eliminate the ones that you don't, or you could even say, you know what, they can't format at all. That's another way. You can allow people to work on your document, but say, y'all can't format anything. So if you write anything in here, make some notes and I'll fix it up later. Again, depends on all the amount of work that you want to do. But I could then say what styles I want to use, and then you start enforcing protection. And what happens is the person is free to edit the document. Actually, let me go ahead and start enforcing that. And let me just do a real quick password here just to show you what happens. What happens now is the document is fully editable, but if I go to the Home tab, notice all of the formatting buttons are disabled. And the only way I can format stuff is by way of styles. Theoretically, that's actually the best way to format documents, but I guarantee you your users are going to hate that. But if it saves you the nightmare of trying to deal with people's bullets and deal with numbering and numbered headings be completely messed up, then I am all for people being upset about not being able to format the way they want. All right, so that's up to you if you want to do that or not. And let me go ahead and just stop the protection. Okay. Whew. Is your brain overloaded yet? This is complicated. There are some trade-offs, especially, like I said, especially when we're dealing with the as far as bulleted lists and numbered lists, the whole business of when you're done with the list, you can't hit enter twice to end it because it is going to go into, it's going to continue to use that style. So that's going to be the one hard habit to break. Once you get the hang of this, once you understand all of the theory that's going on here, it's actually not hard. But let me tell you, even I, after all of these years, even before this class today, I'm like, okay, I got to review this. I got to look at this stuff. I got to make sure I don't say the wrong thing, especially when I'm teaching, because it's a lot to process. It's just tough to make simple. But if you keep in mind, so let's try to keep in mind a few things. First off, these buttons are evil. The bullets button and the numbering button are pure evil. Number two, bullets, numbering, and outlines are all the same thing as far as Word is concerned. Always create a list style to do bullets and numbering. List styles contain multi-level lists. Okay, so you don't want to do a multi-level list. In that list style, once you have your list styles, by definition, list styles are 9 hierarchically related styles that you can plug in any styles you want to relate to those levels. You can use the headings, you can use the bullet styles, list bullet, list number, whatever you want to do. You could even, if you're hardcore, create new styles. And that's another way, and that's a way around, or that's a way to, if you need different numbering schemes or different bullet schemes and you want to have multiple ones in your document, it would take a lot of work, but you would need to set up another bulleted list style that would relate to 5 bullet styles, but you'd have to create 5 more bullet styles on your own. You could clone the ones that are there, but again, a lot of work. Okay. All right, well, I didn't really use my PowerPoint slides, but all I had was these. I intended to kind of use these for people watching the video, but let's just do some quick wrap up here at the end, and then we'll do we'll open it up to Q&A. Hey, for more information on Word, go to support.office.com. Unfortunately, you're not going to find a lot of this information that I talked about today. This information is really on the hardcore techie sites if you search for it. So refer back to what I talked about earlier as to where to find the articles and things I talked about. In general, though, if you need some help with Word, just go to support.office.com. Hey, you want to learn more stuff? Look at my videos here on YouTube. Of course, if you're watching YouTube right now, you'll already have found all the videos that I have there, so thank you for finding those. You can also join my Facebook group, the Beardy MCT. Yeah, Beard MCT. There you go. It's a public group on Facebook. Just go looking for, just look for that title, join it, and you'll find all the new invites and chatter and everything else there. That's a public group that anybody can join. So as I add new classes and offer things, you can find that all from there. So for you watching the video, thank you very much. I hope you learned something today. You might need to watch this 1 or 2 times, but that's okay. This is a tough subject. But once you put in the time and once you put in the work, I guarantee you that you're going to be rewarded. Thank you for watching. Folks on the call right now, hang on. We'll open it up to general Q&A. But for those of you watching, thank you for watching this video. I hope you learned something new, and I hope to see you at another video.